What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Counting Wisdom Podcast. Before I get started, you can hit that subscribe button and hit the like button on your favorite videos. You can consider subscribing to my channel because I make Bible-based videos. I'm trying to get more professional in the videos as well, so you'll be seeing higher quality videos come out, but also I still will have some lower quality of me just speaking videos as well, but hopefully a good message within those videos. So that's what I wanted to announce before I get started. Heaven is our home, and we are headed towards a new plateau of life. Life is going to get so much better than what we experience now. And yeah, life can be good sometimes, depending on what makes life good for you. Of course, if it's not good, then, you are on a journey to figure out how to improve your life. And of course, there are some things that are just plain difficult to kind of navigate. Our fears can make us concerned about life. We can worry about things that haven't even happened yet. And sometimes that can depress us and make life depressing. And so, I wanted to make another video talking about how, or a podcast talking about how heaven is going to be better than what we can imagine is what I'm trying to say. Sorry about that. Tongue twister. But one of the things that the Bible talks about, I believe in a millennial reign of Jesus Christ, so a 1,000-year reign of Jesus before he makes a new heavens and a new earth. Of course, some believe that Jesus is just going to return and, he's going to make a new heavens and a new earth. Whatever view that you take on it, we can definitely conclude that God is going to remake the earth and the universe, which is amazing in of itself, God remaking the universe. But he's planning on doing more than we can imagine. And I think we have to just hang in there. We have to just hang in there, and God can give us the strength to hang in there. I think when life gets hard, we have to pray more. I know that when I was going through a trial, not so far in the future, in the past, I was praying a lot more. And I think the prayer really helped me kind of open up to God about what my situation was. And so that's what I recommend for anyone, because it's what the Bible recommends. James, in the book of James, he says to pray if you are suffering, and I think that's great advice from God, that, we need to open up about our situation, because I think sometimes we can go through things and remain kind of silent, and not really talk about it, not really face the issue, and kind of just gloss over it. And so God, he's able to listen to us. When you have not that many people in your life that listen to you, God, he's able to listen to you. And of course, he doesn't he warns us not to go on and on in our prayer, and especially, repeat, repeat ourselves in some sort of mantra or something like that. But other than that, God hears our prayers. Now, there's a few things that can hinder God from hearing our prayer. I know one verse in Proverbs says, someone who refuses to hear the law, their prayers are detestable to God, or an abomination. And so that's one thing. Another thing that can hinder our prayers is maybe we're not treating our spouse in the right way. If you are looking for motivation of why you should treat your spouse in the right way, it's because God will hear our prayers if we do that. And it says that in the New Testament that, God can hear our prayers, and our prayers won't be hindered because we're not treating our spouse in the right way. But this podcast isn't about prayer. I wanted to stick on the topic of heaven, but that was just a little side note. But heaven's going to be amazing. We can think about all the different things that God is going to do. I think business is going to continue on. I think friendships and family is going to continue on. I think it's not far-fetched to say that we're going to have a car or something that resembles a car in heaven. How else are we going to get around on the ground other than maybe some people assume that we might fly? But other than flying, what if someone wants to drive? I don't think that's out of the question. And so I think a lot of the good things that we like about living will continue on in heaven. But I think heaven is going to be, and when I say heaven, I mean the heavens that come down, God's throne that comes down to live on the earth. And that's what I'm talking about, not necessarily the heaven that we go to when we die, because that's different than when God brings down the new Jerusalem out of heaven and it lands on the new earth and he remakes the earth. And so we have so much to look forward to. We talked about cars being in heaven. I think sports are going to be there, amusement parks. I think all the things that makes life, amazing. I think work is going to be there because work is not a part of the curse. Work is cursed as far as, God said that it will be hard to make a living from working in this life because of the curse. He told Adam and Eve, thorns and thistles will, be produced, and through the sweat of his brow that he will work the land. And so, that is something that I think will, work is something that I think will continue, because we're told that we're going to rule and reign with Christ, not only for 1,000 years, but also, we're going to rule in God's kingdom, in Christ's kingdom for eternity. And I've heard it described as the jobs that we have, unless someone wants to switch jobs, but the job that we have, we're going to have a secure job for forever, And, when God says things can last forever, I don't think it's in the way that we understand forever. I think we will have this wanting for things to never end. And I think in this life, sometimes we want things to end. Sometimes we want our life to end. We can say, oh, God, this isn't worth it. Or I'm just having such a bad time here. Like, I don't want to live anymore. Or that's a bit extreme. But, sometimes you want your job to end. Maybe you want to quit your job, or, we want things to end sometimes. But, we also know that feeling of wanting something to last forever. And Ecclesiastes talks about how God has set eternity in our hearts. And so we know that feeling of, I don't want this job to end. I like my job, or I like the pay that I'm getting, and I like the people that I work with, and we just don't want it to end. Or you love your car or something, and you want your car to last, and you wish that it didn't break down. Those are just a few examples of how we want things to continue on. And so I think heaven is going to be that exciting, where we're not going to be dreading, I have 70 more years to go, and then, that's it, and we're dreading each day, and each day is like walking through mud, and we're not getting closer to our destination. It seems like we're taking one step closer, but 2 steps back. And so I don't think heaven is going to be like that at all, because remember, God placed a curse on this earth because of sin, because of the evil things that people do. And we've all done evil, but, because of the evil things that people do, God has cursed this place. And so I think that can sometimes help in getting through with life, is that, this, having that knowledge that this isn't how it's supposed to be, or this isn't how it's always going to be, and I think, realizing that God has a plan, and he has a perfect plan, and we're so blessed to be in fellowship with God. We're so blessed to, be created by God, and it's, an immeasurable gift from God of life and eternal life, and so, I think that's why we all look forward to heaven as Christians, because we realize that, it's going to get better. We realize that, heaven is far better. I think another thing to note about heaven is that, heaven is where we will see God. I think there's always this kind of question about God sometimes we can have, in this life, is that we want to see God. We want to, see his face. We want to talk to God. We want our questions answered. And heaven is going to be like that. Heaven is going to be a place where we can get our questions answered. Heaven is going to be a place where, we can see God, and there's no more, even though we have faith in God, but there's no more separation from God, where, we have to have this faith without ever seeing God. And in this life we do, even though you can have a vision of God, or, a dream about God or something like that. But that's not necessarily what I'm talking about. I'm more talking about actually being in the presence of God. Even though God's presence is technically everywhere, is how we believe, is that, God is everywhere. But, kind of heaven is where God's throne is, where almost like I describe it as the main presence of God is in heaven, because it says that we are separated from God. And of course that can mean separated, in a spiritual sense, but anyway, that's one of the amazing parts about heaven, is that we're going to see God. We're going to see Jesus. We believe in Jesus, even though we haven't seen him. We've only believed the report about Jesus, and it's amazing because, we haven't seen Jesus, and it shows that you don't always have to see something to really believe, and you don't always have to see something to really, do something about what you heard of. And so I think that's amazing. And so heaven is going to be a place where there's no more pain, no more sorrow, no more suffering. And we can look forward to living a life where our everyday problems that we face are solved. If we are storing up treasure in heaven, we know that it's a good treasure, that, God is saying, hey, give me, 10% of what you increase, and, I'll give you eternal rewards from that. Give money to the poor, and you can get an eternal blessing from that. At least that's how Jesus described it, as, provide. He said, provide for yourself money bags that will not wear out, that won't grow old. And to me, what he's saying there is that, and I've heard someone else interpret it this way, is that your money bag will never get empty. You'll always have money in it. And so, in this life, we sometimes stress about, maybe, you want a house, or you want a car, you want, better clothes, or you want food if, you're living like that, or you want, a better environment. And God is, I think, saying to us, hey, just wait a little bit, hold out, and, he's going to provide for us. And I think there's a level of providing that God can do for us in this life. Everyone should have a job. Of course, if you're a stay-at-home mom, then that is your job. But other than that, every working adult should have a job that is, maybe not disabled or something like that. You could be disabled, or, there's exemptions depending on the type of person, but God can provide for us. And so I think that's one of the things that I look forward to in heaven as well, is that, we will be provided for abundantly, and, Jesus said, you will always have the poor among you, but you will not always have me. But, I don't think there's going to be a poor person like we know poor in heaven. I think that a great example of that is the rich man and Lazarus. Lazarus, it says he is comforted and you are tormented. When they were talking about the rich man and Lazarus, the rich man was tormented and Lazarus was comforted, and Lazarus was a poor beggar. And so the Bible is clearly describing there are comforts for the poor. And, to me, that means provision. That means, protection. It means everything that comfort can bring. And, there's a few people that theory that theorize that, maybe not everyone has a room in the New Jerusalem or something, or not everyone has treasure. But I heard it in the Bible that everyone will get a reward of some sort, on some level. Everyone's going to get some reward. And I find it hard to believe, that even though there's going to be least and great people in heaven, there's going to be Jesus said there's going to be people who are called the least in the kingdom of heaven and people who are going to be called great in the kingdom of heaven. So, yeah, even though there's going to be least and great, I think, we can assume, it's safe to assume that everyone has a room in the New Jerusalem. Of course, I've heard it described as, maybe we will invite people into our home who, just barely made it into heaven. I don't know. I don't know. I think I do know that, no one who is a Christian, can be rightly in heaven and, be sleeping under a tree or, be sleeping in a park, and getting cold and, no, that's not what God is doing. He's taking away the curse, and, I don't know if there's going to be cold regions in heaven. Will everything be the same temperature, or will cold be different? A different feeling when it's cold. We won't necessarily feel the pain of cold. I don't know. I know there's no more pain, so it's kind of interesting to think about. But, I think everyone is going to be thoroughly happy in heaven. And in the New Jerusalem, I think there are those that, go to hell, and those that, are not happy, for sure. But as far as someone who follows Jesus Christ, I can't say that, with confidence that, this person is not going to, enjoy heaven, and so I think it's something that everybody can look forward to, even if you're not actively storing up for yourself treasure in heaven. I don't think I've heard a message that says, heaven is not socialistic where, God just provides for everybody and different things like that. And he's saying the message was saying that heaven was capitalistic, which means, there's capitalism where some people have more than others. And so, I do believe the message that, maybe someone will have different treasures than another person. But at the same time, I do agree with the statement that everyone is going to be happy in heaven. Everyone's going to be happy. So anyway, if you would like to go to heaven, you can receive Jesus as your Lord and Savior. You can commit to following him. You can commit to your life to him. And don't worry about these other ways. I kind of made a summary of, if there was another God, he would accept the way of Jesus, And for the people out there who may be thinking about other religions or other ways of life, I look at the way of Jesus. When you really look at his teaching, when you really look at the teaching of the Bible, if there was another God, he would accept anyone who follows Jesus, but there isn't another God, there's only one God. And, I guess I just kind of being a little bit, silly in that, you can be confident that following Jesus is the right path. And so, thanks so much for listening to this podcast. It went kind of long today, but, I just wanted to share some of my thoughts about heaven, and I look forward to it, and we should all be looking forward to heaven. And so thanks so much, and I will talk to you on the next podcast. See ya.